The topic of question today, someone asked me, how do you track your macros when going out? Or how do you track donuts, etc, etc? Well, the answer is very simple. Kind of. Okay, so with bigger restaurants, like chain restaurants, for example, well, I consider Chipotle to be a restaurant, but places like Chipotle or like Longhorn or Cheesecake Factory, at least on like some of the stuff on there, they have the macros for certain things listed on MyFitnessPal. That's part of the reason I use MyFitnessPal. Kind of like Chrissy talks about in the Flexible Dieting 2.0 book, MyFitnessPal has the largest database in terms of restaurants and brands and food varieties and stuff like that. So it's really, really easy to find stuff on there. So for big restaurants like that, or like with Chipotle, you can literally like build your bowl on MyFitnessPal, or if you don't use MyFitnessPal, you can actually do like the build your bowl feature on their website, and then just plug the macros into whatever app you use or whatever you're using to do your macros. You can do that manually. Stuff like donuts, I know, like same kind of thing, big chain restaurants like Krispy Kreme, they have the macros listed on their website, as well as a lot of them are on MyFitnessPal. Tim Hortons, Dunkin' Donuts, like a lot of those big chains, or even like Gigi's Cupcakes, like for cupcakes, they have their macros on MyFitnessPal for a lot of their stuff. So with those, like you can just enter manually, but with places that are like local shops or like places that don't have their macros on MyFitnessPal, you've kind of got to use your judgment, you kind of got to use your common sense, or even like with going somewhere like Chipotle where you have a different person, you know, dishing out your food every time. Once you've been doing this for a while, you know what 4 ounces of chicken looks like. You know what like a serving of rice looks like. So like use your common sense. That's what a lot of this boils down to. Common sense. You don't have to make macros rocket science. It's literally so simple. But I know like when you're starting out, it really doesn't seem that simple. So like, if you're going to Chipotle and you think they've given you like a little bit more rice than like what's normal, and if you're like really super concerned about it, then enter 1.5 or enter 2 or whatever. Now there's a caveat to this. In off season, or like when you're like luxury macros, hood rich macros, whatever you want to call it, it's not as big of a deal to do stuff like this. But I know for me personally, when it comes to like down to, you know, real close to showtime, so like being in competition prep, it's a little bit more difficult to do things like go to Chipotle, where the servings are not to your discretion and they're not concrete, just because, especially when your macros are, you know, poverty level at that point, serving size and like measurements need to be as accurate as possible. When you are close to a show, your macronutrients do need to be as accurate as possible, and if you want to compete, that is just a fact of life. You either don't have the macros for Chipotle, or you're gonna have to freaking weigh out your Chipotle and like just deal with it. And that's just how it goes. But okay, with places that are like chain restaurants, not chain restaurants, kind of got to use your judgment. So like if you go to a restaurant or like a local donut shop, for example, depending on the kind of donut it is, if it's a denser donut, I would say go with something, you know, on a MyFitnessPal that's more like a Dunkin' Donuts, because those are a little bit denser. They're known, whereas Krispy Kreme is known for being like super light and airy. You can like add toppings manually, like, you know, crushed nuts, peanut butter, icing, whatever. So there's that. Or if it is like a lighter donut, Krispy Kreme is, you know, known for being like a little bit airier, a little bit lighter. But also if you are in competition prep where you need to be a little bit more exact with your macros, ask the restaurant. Like if you're really that concerned about it, it's a law to have nutritional information available upon customer request. Okay, it's a law, so they have to have it. I'm pretty sure it's a law anyway. I'm like 99% sure it's a law. Either way, they should have it available somewhere to you, that if it's really that big of a deal, you can do it. Okay, now I'm in the car with my mom. I kind of wanted to just like finish this up real quick. Hi, Mom.
Hi, everybody.
Look at her fabulous coat. She is so fab. That's who I get my fashion sense from, by the way. But anyway, so like I was saying, restaurants, I'm pretty sure, are like literally required by law to have nutritional info available to their customers somewhere. But like with going out places, if you can't find the exact nutritional information of like what you want to eat, say you want to get like a steak with rice and veggies or something like that, then restaurants normally cook stuff with oil, especially like veggies and stuff like that, to give them a little flavor. So you can either ask them to cook it without, and you can kind of judge by taste. If it's like super palatable, they probably put oil in it anyway. So you can just, you know, log some steamed veggies and then add like a teaspoon to a tablespoon of oil, you know, depending on how. That's kind of one thing where you have to use your judgment. Then, you know, log the steak like however much you think is in the steak, like I don't know, rice, etc. You can enter things separately, and with stuff like that, use your better judgment. Like I've mentioned multiple times, when you are in contest prep, especially when you are super close, it's a little bit more difficult to do stuff like that, because I said accuracy is very important. So like guesstimate as little as you possibly can, you know, like if you want to go out and enjoy yourself, yes, by all means do it, but you might have to overestimate a little bit just to be on the safe side. But if you're like in off season, you know, like on the gain train, you know, choo-choo, you really don't need to freak out about stuff like that. And like, especially if you're in off season, I'm not saying go out and like not track ever, like all the time, but if you're in off season, for God's sake, for the love of God, you need to not be OCD about hitting every single macro every single day, because chances are it's not gonna happen, okay? Like it just won't. Especially, and you know what, there's nothing wrong with that. I think we get in this mindset of we have to, you know, oh, I have to hit every single macro every day, and if I don't eat exactly this many grams of fiber, then I suck and I'm a failure. Oh my God. But that's not true. And I think if you have that mindset that you have to, especially in off season, when you're chilling and you're making gains, like if you're freaking out about hitting every single macro every single day, in my personal opinion, everybody talks about how clean eating is a disordered way of thinking. I think thinking that you have to hit your macros every single freaking day to the T, like, oh, I have to eat 130 grams of protein, 330 grams of carbs, and 80 grams of fat every single time, or I'm gonna die and I'm a failure at fitness and all that stuff. I think that's just as disordered as being like, oh my God, I can't get off of my meal plan. Like, that's still stupid, and you need to fix that. If you have that mindset, you need to fix that, like ASAP. Especially, you know, if opportunities come up where you're like going out with friends or there's a family event and you don't want to track, like that's totally okay. Sometimes you need a mental break. Like you can make smart decisions. I'm not saying go blow your whole life and like make yourself want to throw up from eating so much. Like that's not good either. But enjoy yourself. Like when it was this hot mom's birthday a few weeks ago, like she's like, what are you doing? But when it was her birthday, like, I didn't track that. I'm like, I'm just gonna, you know, enjoy the day, go out to dinner, have some steak, like, eat some ice cream, some cupcakes, you know, just like live a little bit. That's fine. Or like when I went to Mexico with Marie, hi best friend. When I went to Mexico for a week, you think I'm gonna track my macros for a week in Mexico? Like, are you out of your mind? No. There's a time and a place to track. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be accurate and hit your goals and, you know, be as accurate as possible, because that's how you see results, is accuracy, and dedication and consistency. I believe that 100%, but you also need to be able to differentiate between when you're trying to be accurate and consistent and when you're just being psycho. So that's just my personal opinion on that. I know that's kind of a non-sensitive way to put it, and that may be a little bit rude, but seriously, you need to know, you know, when is the right time to track, when is the right time to just kind of be, because when you think about it, there's the old adage, like, is one bad meal gonna mess you up? No. Is one day of not hitting every single macro gonna mess you up that bad? No. And if you think it is, just do this with me. Simmer down a little bit and you'll be fine. Yeah, so if you want to track your macros when you're going out, like I said, takeaway number one, big chain restaurants or like chain companies like Dunkin' Donuts and Krispy Kreme and Chipotle, etc., they all have, or like Longhorn, they all have their macros listed, either on some sort of website or like in MyFitnessPal. So literally all you have to do is search it and it's there, plug it in, and you're good to go. If some things macros aren't listed, then like I said, second takeaway, use your better judgment. Judge portion size as accurately as you can. Overestimate a little bit if you think that you're getting more than, you know, a serving, or if that just makes you feel better. If it makes you feel at peace, then okay, go for it. And then takeaway number 3, if you want to go out and track, or if you want to have like a night in with your girls or your bros and not track, like that's totally fine. You're not less of like a fitness person or less of an athlete for doing that. If you're, I guess number 4, if you're in competition prep, that does not apply unless you had, you know, like a free night or whatever in your programming, or like a reefy night in your programming where you track how much extra tunnel bridge, whatever, where you're allowed to eat, you know, a little bit more than what you would normally eat. But if you're in competition prep, please be as accurate as possible, and if you're not, do not blame your coach for going outside of what you're supposed to do. I think I covered all my bases here. I don't know. Yeah, I got a couple questions about that, so I kind of figured that was, you know, like a quick little easy video log that I could do in the car with my mom. I do want to do like a more comprehensive guide to flexible dieting sometime in the near future. Kind of a few different parts to that. An intro to flexible dieting, intro to macronutrients, what they are, what they do, and then, you know, a little bit more advanced level understanding, differences between tracking macros and flexible dieting in the off season and during prep, some little tips and tricks for hitting your numbers in both of those seasons, whether you're luxury, hood rich macros, middle working class macros, or just poverty macros. There's a method for all of them. So yeah, that's been the video log for today. Hopefully it was kind of helpful and informative. But yeah, so we're gonna go shopping now, and have a good day, guys. It's me again. Oh my god. Okay. So I just got back from shopping. Wow, I'm a ghost. Hey, just got back from shopping with the mom. Do I even grammar now? Anyway, just wanted to throw in a little side note. Got some fun stuff at Sephora. That's not the side note, not that you guys like care that what I got at Sephora. Maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe I'll like cover that one day. Anyway, so got a couple requests while I was gone about doing, you know, like a full day of training, full day of eating, all that stuff. So that's probably what's gonna be next, is a full day of training, I'm guessing. My style's a little atypical for bikini competitors, so that's kind of part of what I want to put out there. And full day of eating, because who doesn't love food? So for y'all that are still on the gain train like me, I will be documenting what I eat while I'm still pretty luxury, pretty Kardashian level macros. And then I'll do another one kind of midway through prep, and then like towards the end of prep, so you can see, you know, working class macros, and then the ever popular poverty macros. Just an FYI, I still eat vegetables, just so you know. Get some Brussels sprouts and broccoli and egg whites and guac and ketchup. Reduced sugar ketchup is my jam. But anyway, yeah, I'll catch y'all soon. Leave what you want to see in the comments or send me an email. And yeah, I'm gonna go eat and edit this video, and hopefully it's not crap. Alright.